Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to my tier 4 guide for the San Andreas Mercenaries missions. We should start off by mentioning a few very important things. The adventure homing missiles as well as the cannons when you're in the cockpit will affect your accuracy, so be very careful with using those, and if you're going for the accuracy, I would avoid them altogether. Secondly, it is highly advised, in my opinion, that you will be doing 2 playthroughs of these missions. First, you play them on hard without taking any snacks or armor, and then on easy you do the rest of the challenges. There is some specific things that I'll mention in each individual mission in what is the best order to do so, so if you're looking for a specific mission, check the timestamps below. In reporting for duty, in order to kill all the enemies and targets, you will have to use your bombs. Now, if you want to make this a little bit easier, you can use circle or B on your respective controller. The bombs you want to be using are the explosive ones because those are the best ones to use, and really it's just going to come down to very slowly but surely making your way through the quarry and taking out all those targets. Your adventure is pretty resilient when it comes to bullets, so don't worry too much about that. The only real threat you have here is if you fly too low and the enemies will shoot you through the window of the adventure, or especially the weaponized Kanata that will be flying around in the area. The best way to take care of the weaponized Kanata is really just simply flying into it with your rotors, because it can survive multiple of these things being blown up. It seems though that the second one, if you try to destroy that the same way, it just seems to keep flying away from you. So really try to take out the first one if you're playing this in hard mode, because it can rapid fire you to death without you even blinking. So in the first one, you really want to focus on the no snack challenge. I would say it's also a good idea to go for the accuracy challenge right away. You can do it in the second one, but I would argue that doing it in your second playthrough and then utilizing the lock-on missiles, because at that point you've already done the accuracy challenge, will make that 50% damage challenge a whole lot easier. The enemies will be a whole lot less accurate, except for the weaponized Kanata that will still just laser beam you out of nowhere if you're not careful, and you will also be able to just lock onto everything and destroy everything a whole lot easier while being in that VTOL mode. When landing your adventure, by the way, what you want to be doing is you want to turn it in such a way where it's faced away from the enemies and having it basically facing the back of you. The landing doesn't seem to matter too much, as the game is pretty generous with allowing you to basically put the Draugr anywhere that you want to, which is pretty nice. And yes, you should indeed also bring the Draugr inside of the adventure to save yourself a whole lot of hassle and a big chase. In falling in, your first playthrough of the mission should be focused on doing hard mode without taking snacks or armor. Use your homing missiles in this one because it is simply not worth the hassle of trying to do it any otherwise. Take out any helicopter that you see before you even think about going into the water. Going into the water while there's helicopters above you will get you killed, or at the very least very damaged. In the second location, the same rule will apply. Make sure to take out all the helicopters before landing it. You don't really have to search for the cargo in this location because it will always be right underneath the barge, so don't waste your time trying to search for it. In the first location though, you definitely have to give it a look. When playing it on easy for the second time, you just want to take it nice and slow and take out any helicopters or vehicles that you will see. Make sure to only use your RPG and try to avoid using your pistol or revolver as much as you can, because obviously any shot that you miss will be a devastating impact to your accuracy stat, because you will not really be able to shoot all that many enemies in this mission because most of them are going to be vehicles. And because the RPG doesn't affect your accuracy stat, it should be a whole lot easier. The main reason why you want to focus on taking out the enemies before going into the water is really because you want to avoid taking any damage at all. You can really just blink twice in this mission and all your health will just simply be shredded away by a helicopter above you. In the second location, you want to apply the strategy of ramming your adventure into a helicopter again, and then before you make your way into the water, make sure to shoot down any helicopters that have spawned again. As soon as that is down, immediately dive into the water, grab the stuff and get back into your adventure. This is all very time sensitive and you have to be pretty quick about it. 2 players in this one at the least is going to be very preferred. On parade is very doable when it comes to the hard mode and no snacks, as well as the 50% damage challenges. These are basically gonna be merely autocomplete because you don't really get shot in the cockpit itself, and as long as you just kind of use hover mode and your lock-on missiles for the helicopters, you really are going to be totally fine. However, there's a bit of a big issue with the simple fact that if you fire homing missiles or your cannons onto vehicles and not on enemies themselves and thus killing them with it, they will negatively affect your accuracy. Meaning that no matter how many bullets you shoot and how many hits you have with your jet against the enemies, they will always negatively impact your accuracy. The only way for you to be able to get the accuracy stat as a solo player is by getting a random spawn of a tank inside of the military base before you get into the jet, and then shooting about 3000 minigun bullets into that tank and then do the mission. That is the only way of how you can get the accuracy stat done as a solo player. It is worth noting that if you want to get a tank to spawn, this is purely based on RNG. So you're gonna have to reload the mission multiple times until you get that tank. And then you have to make sure you don't miss too many rockets, or else you might still fail it. 3000 bullets should do you nicely with still being able to miss a few rockets, but don't try to overdo that. So yeah, big recommendation here to do this with a second player, because you're basically going to need it for the accuracy stat, sadly. In breaking ranks, you want to start off by stealthing the entire first section so you can effectively avoid any sort of damage. Now, the best way to explain this is by showing you. In Unconventional Warfare, you want to be landing your parachute in the area that I'm landing it in, and then you want to make sure that you can stealth through the entire section, as it will make it a whole lot safer for you to get through it. So I'll just show you how to do that. As soon as you pick up Avi Schwartzman, the alarm bells will be raised and it's time to switch to your heavy revolver and pump shotgun with hollow point rounds again. You want to move from section to section and making sure that you don't see any enemies running towards you. If that happens, obviously make sure to take them out as quick as you can. They have automatic rifles and can take away your health pretty quickly, especially if you are not careful. Utilize your pause menu to get a rough idea of where exactly they are located, but don't trust on it fully, as obviously most of these enemies will not be on your map because they have not fired any shots. You want to make sure that before you head up to the middle section and make your way up the stairs again, that you kind of check the left and right and take out any enemies so they cannot surprise and shoot you before you head up again. The gameplay is showing easy mode, so that's why there are not that many enemies outside, and is also the reason why I would advise you to play this easy mode if you are going for the 50% damage challenge. As you can tell, the parking lot is practically empty, but the helicopter will still be there. Infinite spawns are a thing, especially for those enemies that are spawning behind you, so keep an eye on your minimap at all times for any incoming spawns. As soon as the coast is somewhat clear, you can make a dash for the armored truck, and make sure to use the sticky bomb on the gate lock there in order to avoid you losing any accuracy stats. The second part of the mission in the adventure, you want to make sure to not miss any shots, because missing shots is going to affect your accuracy stats. Obviously, because so far you haven't shot that many enemies, and this is where you're going to be doing the predominant amount of shooting, you will have to be careful. If you see any of the Savage helicopters coming in, make sure to destroy them right away. These are the ones that will destroy your adventure the quickest and will do the most damage. The other helicopters with their machine guns, they're not going to do an awful lot of damage, but obviously try to take them out. Try to shoot down the helicopters at the moment that they're hovering still, instead of trying to get them in mid-air, unless you have a good understanding of how fast these rockets are flying towards the target. Don't be too stressed about the health though, you have plenty of it, but again, the Savages here are the main targets. They take 2 or 3 shots to take down, so if you see them, take them down right away. Shock and Awe is where I would argue it is honestly best to play this in 2 separate playthroughs. We'll start off with the hard playthrough without any snacks and armor. This one, you just really want to be careful. You kind of should also go for the accuracy stat in this one right away, for the simple reason that you're using one-shot weapons anyway, so you're probably better off doing so and making your life a bit easier. There's going to be people inside of the higher up positions, so take them out with a heavy sniper. Preferably have a thermal scope as well to make seeing them a lot easier, and then just keep moving slowly but surely and make your way to the control room. You just want to take it nice and slow here. These enemies will not be respawning, so as soon as they've been taken out, you don't have to worry about them again. The focus of the first playthrough really is going to be playing this on hard and not using any snacks. If you're getting low on health, make sure to take cover so you can regenerate your health to the halfway point. Slowly but surely keep making your way until you reach the control room, take out the signal jammers, and then it is time for arguably the worst part of this mission, which is going to be pushing the cart. You can start off by taking the boat and utilizing the RPG to take down some of the 2 vehicles that are spawning in as well. But yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest. The moment you have to start pushing the cart forward, this is where the mission becomes a headache, to just put it in the most user-friendly way possible. The only real way for you to get through this mission from this point onwards is by pushing the cart forward slightly, then leaving it alone, and then taking cover behind one of the pillars, and then take out the enemies that are spawning on your left on the higher ground there. Do you start to get the understanding of how frustrating this mission is going to be by yourself on hard mode without any snacks and armor? It isn't until this point here where the Raju comes in and those guys on the higher ground will finally stop spawning and harassing you. It literally is just harassing. They will not stop spawning until the Raju comes in and takes out the Savages. But that's not even the halfway point, because from this point onwards, enemies are continuing to keep spawning. They will spawn to your right, they will spawn behind you, and all of this while you basically have half health. So you have to keep turtling forward, push the cart, go into cover, regen health, clear out the area, push the cart, take cover, regen, you get me. Now this is the part where you're probably going to wonder, but what about the 50% damage challenge? I'm gonna be blunt with you here. I have tried this for many hours, I've given this multiple attempts, tried all sorts of different ways, only to come to the conclusion that it's not worth the headache, and you really should be doing this with an additional player, because there are so many different variables to this: the unlimited spawns of the enemies, the randomness of where they will appear and when they will shoot you, as well as the fact that you would just simply be out in the open without any cover, and any sort of stray bullet can literally just void the challenge out of nowhere. Meanwhile, if you just get 1 or 2 other players with you, it really is going to be a breeze. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is impossible to do solo, but what I will say is that you will have to get very, very lucky in order to get less than 50% damage taking, especially during the pushing cargo section. Effectively, if you want to do this, you will have to get a flawless run all the way up until the point you start pushing the cargo. If you take any sort of damage up until that point, you're probably screwed. But even then, the likelihood of you getting shot by those guys up on the top there is so incredibly high that it's just, I don't know. Yes, I'm pretty upset about the fact that it didn't find a way. This is actually the very first time in 10 years of playing GTA Online that it didn't find a strategy to get something like this done. It is kind of weird to me. I will say though, that I will never play these missions ever again. But if you found the guide useful or enjoyed it, make sure to leave it a like, subscribe for more, and if you like what you see on the channel, become a member, like Chloe, GTA Plus, Left Lane Looney, OnlyFans Made Me Do It, Notorious Jam, and the Finewood Card Club. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.